Hey everyone, welcome to Unveiling the Truth. I'm your host Nefer, and on today's episode I'm going to be talking about the impact of the movie Sound of Freedom. So without further ado, let's go unveil the truth. So before we get started, like we do with anything that is good and holy, we're going to start off with a quick prayer. And because we're talking about Sound of Freedom, and our slogan of God's children are not for sale, we're going to start off with an Our Father in Latin for children who are victims of child human trafficking. So, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancto. Amen. Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum. Adveniat regnum tuum. Fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris. Et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. So, you guys probably realized by now that I'm by myself. I'm not in the usual set, and Nelly's not with me. But like she mentioned a couple of weeks ago, in one of our videos, because of Nelly's doing stuff with work and I'm doing stuff with school, sometimes it's difficult for us to be able to meet up with each other. So I'm going to be doing this one kind of solo today. Let's see how it goes out. Sound of Freedom. We've both watched it. So Nelly told me she watched it. I watched it on July 7th. I don't know if we'll probably do something talking about it together, maybe once we see how it's expanded once it gets into the Latin American market. But, and I know this is kind of late because it came on July 4th and it's like the last day of July or something. But we still decided to talk about it. It's still important. And it's, how do I say this? We also kind of gave time to see what was going on as time developed, because as time went on, as every day passed, stuff was going crazy with Sound of Freedom, and it's insane. I mean, it's a great movie, from a filmmaking standpoint. I could go all out and get down to the analysis of scenes and stuff. I'm not gonna do that because then we'll be here for hours. But it's a great film. Definitely go watch it. It is a must watch, and it's an entertaining film above all too. Even despite it being such a heavy subject matter. But I think what the discussion regarding Sound of Freedom has been mostly around is on the impact that it's had, not just on film, but in general on society. And I guess people are kind of seeing the impact that it's having in terms of left or right issues, and shedding light on child trafficking. But I think it goes beyond that from a cultural standpoint. And so we're going to get into that. So first off, my quick little background with the movie. 3 years ago, right when I had moved actually to New Mexico, the producer of the film, Eduardo Verástegui, I've been following him my whole life because he's a big Mexican actor. Everyone knows him in Mexico. And so I'd watched the other movies he's produced, like Bella and Little Boy. I grew up watching those. And so because I was following him a lot, especially during the pandemic when he started doing his rosary for the world every day, he was always praying for his film, Sound of Freedom. And he was always praying for children around the world and families. And that's how I found out about this. And so I remember telling my parents in 2020, I remember telling them, Eduardo Verástegui is doing a movie with Jim Caviezel about child trafficking. And I was really excited to watch it. And then I hear nothing about it for years. And I'm just I wonder whatever happened to that movie. And I would still hear him talk about it and mention things. And I'd just be whatever happened to that? Why isn't it out? Well, fast forward to a couple months ago. And because I follow Angel Studios, I find out that Angel Studios acquired Sound of Freedom. And I'm it's going down now. And then 2 months after that, it's in theaters. Just like that. It was insane. And in every way, in every good way possible. And I was dude. And so I really wanted to watch it from the beginning. I was really wanting to support it. Prior to this, I had no idea who Tim Ballard was. I just found out who Tim Ballard was 3 years ago. Nelly told me that she's, probably been following. I think that she's been following Tim Ballard for several years now. or for a while now, and I found out who he was with just finding out about the existence of the movie. So I really wanted to watch it. I really wanted to go support. Yet at the same time, I was kind of hesitant because I was worried that it was going to be really heavy because people were saying it was kind of a heavy watch. But we ended up going anyhow, and I'm so glad we did. Like I said earlier, it's a very well done movie. It talks about something so heavy, yet it does so in such a tasteful manner, and it still manages to be entertaining. Like, there were scenes where I was laughing. Like, there are scenes that make you laugh in this movie, and there are scenes that make you want to get up out of your seat and beat up the people on screen. And so, definitely a must watch from everyone. So just really quickly, we're going to see kind of the impact of what's been going on with this in terms of like the box office. It's been performing very well at the box office. As of right now, it's past $100 million at the box office. So it had a 14.5, I believe, budget. So according to Box Office Mojo, and I'm going to be adding this really quickly down below, as of right now, it has a $130 million gross, domestic gross, and obviously worldwide because it still hasn't released to the international market. So it's doing really well. I mean, this was a $14.5 million budget, which is like nothing in the film world. That's barely anything. It's a low budget production, and it doesn't even look low budget. And so this is great for the movie because it means that it's getting reach. It means a lot of people are going to support this. And it also enables Angel Studios to keep doing future projects, and even like the people who are working with Sound of Freedom to continue making more projects because they're going to be releasing this on streaming, I believe, on the Angel platform, as well as doing a sequel. Jim Caviezel has already said that there's been a sequel, that the screenplay for the sequel has already been written out. So that's great. That's awesome. But one thing that is really fascinating about Sound of Freedom is that in any other case, people would probably be really, really happy about this. You know, they'd be thinking like, oh, wow, like what a surprise. This indie film, low budget film is doing so well. And they're using an innovative like marketing strategy with the Pay It Forward program. In any other world, people would probably be praising this. But a lot of people are not praising this. The left has had a very strange reaction to this, calling it like QAnon adjacent and stuff like that, criticizing Jim Caviezel for believing in QAnon conspiracy theories. Like, they're like saying, I mean, I don't know. They're saying that child sex trafficking is not a conspiracy theory, but the child sex trafficking rings are, as if Epstein had never happened. And so, I mean, we know that this exists. Like, obviously, why are we getting this really strange reaction? And I think that's why this movie has been so controversial. Although, in a sane world, a movie about protecting children and rescuing them from crazy, wacko predators should not be controversial. Yet it is. Like, what kind of society are we living in? I mean, I personally know that this stuff exists. It's why I don't like going to Tijuana. And this is probably a little off topic, but really short story. I heard of a family member who knew someone who they went to Tijuana and their son got kidnapped from them, like in the moment. And they spent like a day or two maybe searching for their son. And they found their son at the back of a car, and their son was dead with his organs ripped out and with drugs. Like, they were using his body to smuggle drugs across the border. It's that bad. And I'm sorry if that's graphic. I'll probably put a content advisory on this. But because this stuff is real. I mean, Tim Ballard himself has said that the child trafficking is used for different reasons. It's used for sex trafficking. It's used for organ harvesting. And it's for other things that I will not say, but I'm making a cross so you guys can probably imagine what I mean by that. And it's just so weird. Like, why are we having this type of strange reaction from people who a few years ago were praising Tim Ballard, or from people who 3 years ago were praising the Cuties movie, which does sexually exploit little girls, and they're defending it and saying that it's not sexual exploitation, which Trent Horn made a really good video about this, so I'll link it down in the description. But like, this is insane. Why is this reaction? Why are we having this reaction to this movie? We should all be supporting this movie and backing this movie. It's not a left or right issue. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. But anyhow, so it's crazy to think people are having these types of vehement, very defensive reactions to this movie. And they're calling people who support it like conspiracy theorists and stuff, and they're saying that's like QAnon adjacent and whatever. And it really begs the question, why are people having this reaction? And so this is where I mean it really comes down to a cultural thing. You know, you start off, it's a movie to protect children. A very well done movie. I mean, these kids can act. And the acting was great. The cinematography was great. The music, oh my gosh, the music. I can't even with the music. And I apologize because my AC just turned on, if there's like crazy sound. But the music was incredible. I mean, the acting was incredible. It's such a well-made film. I could understand it if people were criticizing this movie on the terms of it being a movie, on like on those types of elements, because it's a film. It means that they're respecting it as an art form. That's actually a compliment. If a piece of art is being critiqued, it's a compliment, because it means that they're respecting it as a work of art. But they're not even criticizing the movie as an art. They're just saying, yeah, well, if you like the movie, it's because you believe in conspiracy theories. Or, yeah, well, Jim Caviezel's in it. Okay, and what? What, is there something wrong with his acting? No, I just don't like his beliefs. Oh, okay, so you're just gonna ad hominem attack the movie. Great. And this should tell us all we need to know, honestly. Like, maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of this, but maybe I'm not. Maybe we're onto something, you know, because what kind of world are we living in that protecting children, protecting their innocence, and trying to rescue them is controversial? Why is this controversial? This should not be controversial. Oh, because it's not 100% factual. Well, no, duh. It's based on a true story. Anyone who knows film knows that things can't be exactly the way they were in real life. That's just not how film works. It's practically impossible with the medium to do something like that. Well, because I don't like the actor's beliefs. Oh, that's a wonderful reason to not like a movie. I mean, look, the left is always saying things like, what side of history do you want to be on? Are we on the right side of history or on the wrong side of history? And I think the reaction to this movie goes beyond child sex trafficking. Of course, this is a huge issue, and it's opened my eyes to like seeing how bad of an issue this is. I was crying walking out of the theater. I was crying in the movie. I was crying walking out of the theater. That never happened to me before. And I immediately called my friend with like, shakiness and tears, and I was just like, you have to watch this movie, man, because it's insane. But I mean, that's the heart of it, to protect children, but it goes beyond that. It really does expose the state of our world and what we've come to. The state of this fallen world that we're in, and just when you think things can't get worse, they do. And so when it comes to that question, what side of history do you want to be on? Well, I ask it right now. Do you want to be on the side of history that was trying to support the efforts of people who are trying to defend children and to spread awareness about this? Or are you going to be on the side of history where people were defending child exploitation and criticizing movies that called it out? Like, Eduardo Verástegui has said, this isn't a left or right or up or down issue. This is just a human issue. This is a human problem. And we would think that this could be something that unites us all, that we can all agree, yes, this is bad. But I think it goes beyond that. Evil is exposing itself with this. And if there is anything to make us break away from that and to really realize how wrong the alt-left is, and again, not just politically, I'm not talking about Democrat, Republican, or whatever. Although we've mentioned this before, it's not about politics. It's just about cultural norms and values and ideologies. If there was ever anything that was strong enough to break us away from that crazy radical ideology, it should be this. If you needed more proof, this should be it. Because they're on the side oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. They're literally exposing themselves. They just did an they played themselves. They gone ahead and played themselves. So they're really, evil is exposing itself. If there was ever any question of how evil these crazy ideologies are and how ungodly they are. This is it. Of course, it's about child trafficking, but it goes far beyond that. This is the impact that Sound of Freedom has. And I don't think this was the intention. I don't think it was intended to have this huge controversy. I honestly, knowing the types of people that Eduardo Verástegui, the producer, Alejandro Monteverde, the director, Jim Caviezel, and now having seen lots of videos of Tim Ballard and having kind of studied his character a bit, knowing them, I think this was just, hey, this is horrible, let's all unite to stop it. I don't think they were expecting this, but it really is a sign of the times when this is the type of impact that this is having, and it's insane. So, yeah, that's the impact of Sound of Freedom. It's just, I still can't wrap my head around it. And when it gets to Latin American countries, I can't even imagine, because Latin America, like I mentioned with my Tijuana story, and like Eduardo says, Cancun is like the biggest market for this, and the US is like the biggest consumer of this stuff, of this like disgusting, sicko, wacko in the head stuff. And when it gets to Latin America, I can't even imagine what's going to happen, because in Latin America is where this stuff goes insane. I can, obviously want to keep track of the updates and stuff, but I can't even imagine what's going to happen, the reach of this film when it gets to Latin America and other countries. So I'll just end on this little thing really quickly. Father Stephen, who we've had on the show before, we were talking about the movie the other day, and he hadn't seen it yet. I had just seen it, and he was like, okay, well, I'm going to ask you what I've asked everyone else. Now that you've seen the movie, now that you know about this, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do to help stop this? And of course, one of the biggest things we need to do is pray. We have to pray a lot. Pray a lot for the protection of children. Pray a lot for the protection of the cast and the crew, because honestly, knowing how sick in the head people are nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised if something horrible happened. Praying for the end to this, and praying for unity so that we can stand up against evil, and trying to educate ourselves more on this issue, trying to support these organizations such as Operation Underground Railroad, the Nazarene Fund, and I think Spear something, the new one that Tim Ballard is doing. I'm not sure what it's called, but once I get more details on it, I'll update the description. And supporting the sequel, supporting with our pockets, frankly, shaping the culture, because if these are the types of movies that can shape the culture, this is revolutionary culturally in the movie world. This movie has such a wide, huge reach, so supporting it financially, but supporting it with our voices, that's what the Sound of Freedom is about. The Sound of Freedom that says God's children are not for sale. And they say God's children are no longer for sale. They should have never been for sale in the first place. And so I leave you with that. Sound of Freedom has impacted the film. It's impacted a lot. But how is it going to impact us? And what are we going to do about it? So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, share, like, subscribe. Check us out on other platforms down in the link tree below. And yeah, God bless you. We'll be praying for you. And this is usually Nellie's line, but I hope I don't butcher it. I hope I do it right for her. Keep that fire burning.